Fanfic Corner, presented by Jennifer. The Midnight Compass, Chapter 7, Aching, Part 3. Okay, for those of you who have not yet seen the first few videos for The Midnight Compass, I suggest you go view those now, as this is a continuation of that story. The following morning was quiet, peaceful even, and yet the pair remained tightly on edge as they walked, Zim fluttering gently at above shoulder height beside them. Zim seemed to be in a better way today, making full use of his mobility, taking little breaks to sit on Callum's shoulder. Callum's ribs, too, were getting to a point where he could mostly ignore them. They were uncomfortable, but manageable at least for the meantime, so long as he focused on not breathing too sharply or making sudden movements. There were times they had to stop as he overdid it, and the sharp ringing pains shot through him again, but they moved swiftly on as the moments passed. The hunter hadn't bothered them yesterday, and part of Callum hoped that perhaps some wild animal had found him and devoured him, so he would never bother them again. Oh, if only they could be so lucky. Their progress was slower than usual, Rayla twitching and stopping them at every sound around them. He couldn't blame her for the paranoia. If something or someone attacked them right now, it could spell the end of their journey together. And yet, Rayla still tried to put on a facade of strength and steely grit in her eyes as they walked, as though nothing could stop her. Then again, perhaps nothing could. She was certainly stronger than anyone he had ever met before, and yet he kept getting this weirdly protective feeling in his chest lately. He knew she could take care of herself. She was quite capable of that. But seeing her hurt, it stirred something in him. He had felt the same way a while back, during the time they knew about her wrist binding. A feeling that he couldn't quite contain to one word, but rather the idea of, I want to do everything I can to help, to take away her pain and make sure she's all right. But it had not been quite this intense back in the snowy town of Catalis. Now it felt too real. Rayla could have lost her life. You're awful quiet. You doing all right? Huh? Oh, yeah, I guess. Callum tried to preoccupy himself with the compass, but he couldn't bite back the question for long. Are you okay? Her good shoulder bumped against him gently. Oh, of course that's what's bothering you. She gave him a knowing smile, and suddenly Callum felt weirdly conspicuous. Had he become that easy for her to read? You're so soft. You can relax, Callum. I'm doing better today. I'm just thinking about how tempting it would be to try and pop my stupid arm back into place. Please don't. His voice came out in a short shrill of panic, and she blinked back at him, alarmed. I heard a story once from one of the guards about a soldier who tried to do that, and he ended up messing up the nerves in his arm so badly he'd never been able to use or feel it fully since. Rayla's nose wrinkled and she grimaced. Oh, huh. Well, I do like being able to use my arm. Yeah, just hang in there for now. We should let a professional take care of that. What, so you're telling me you're not a professional medic? Could have fooled me. She laughed, and Callum felt the tension around them dissipate. It was a relief, and he smiled back softly. Let's just hope we find someone who can fix you up soon. He gave her a playful grin. I'll have a chance to test my cool fancy new disguise. Rayla bumped the back of her hand against his wrist, and he took the opportunity to curl his hand around hers. To fix us both up, she corrected gently. They walked together, their spirits lifted a little higher up now for a few hours, until the forest began to thin slightly, and they could hear something up ahead. People. Callum's head jerked back to his bag to deposit the compass. Hand jerked back to his bag to deposit the compass, and he felt the dragon dive into it too. Then he fumbled for the brooch, except he wasn't wearing it anymore. Rayla, the brooch. Where's... He hissed quietly. Didn't you pin it to your scarf? She looked down at her sling and furrowed her brow. Where? She let him feel through the fabric wrapped around her arm. But the panic began to rise in his chest when he couldn't find it. Where did it go? After all that, he couldn't have just lost it. And then Rayla's hand found his arm, and she gave it a squeeze. Callum, calm down, she whispered, her face serious. Take a deep breath and keep looking. But also, please stop jerking my arm about. It's kind of agony. Callum's face fell. Oh, gosh, I'm so sorry. He gently lowered her bandaged arm back down, steadying his trembling hands. Then, finally, after what felt like an age, his fingers brushed against something cold and metallic and a little further up and closer to her shoulder. Oh, thank the stars. He unpinned it carefully and attached it to his jacket, flicking the brooch on. And there was that strange sensation again as everything went white for a moment, and he felt the strange new appendages on his back and the weight of horns on his head. When he met Rayla's eyes again, she was blinking, letting her eyes adjust and rub at them with the side of her hand. You need to give me a warning when you do that. Oh, sorry. She smiled and waved it off. It's fine. Still though. Wow. Reaching forward, she brushed her hand down one of his wings. There wasn't really any sensation there, but he could feel a little pressure. He imagined that would make sense. It was only an illusion. There were no nerves running through it, and yet he could still move them, as though they were his arms, without needing to think. So he did, as Rayla's hand found his wings, let the fake muscles relax a little under her touch, and the feathers splay out. He smiled when he heard a tiny, barely audible gasp. This is the coolest thing. Careful, you'll make our compass jealous of the brooch. She laughed, letting go of his wing, and gave him an affectionate little poke in the chest. Come on then, Elf Callum. Let's go see what's waiting for us up ahead. A path not unlike the one they had followed to Calderon greeted them as they exited the tree line. Though it was wider, well more well-worn, and, to both their surprises, rather busy. The occasional carriage passed by, elves riding various mounts and ambling by on foot, and the atmosphere was lively and cheerful even. Ray, I don't know, Callum. She gave a quizzical look. I suppose it'd help if we actually knew where we were before we figure out where we're going. My guess, though, is we must be near a big town if there's all these people passing through. Callum looked both ways before jogging out to politely stop a couple of Sunfire elves, hands intertwined, laughing and talking. Excuse me. The pair came to a standstill, smiling brightly at the boy. Could you tell us where we are? We're a little lost. Oh, you're on the path to Balsame and Marimors. Are you on your way to the festival? Festival? Callum couldn't help but lighten up a little at the mention. First time, huh? Meredith holds the Festival of the Sky every year. I bet you'd love it. Sky Festival? Callum's whole face split into a huge grin, fluffy ear to fluffy ear, and he looked over his shoulder at Rayla, still standing on the other side of the road, looking at him quizzically. Which way to Maramosa? Maramosis. The older elf pointed with an amused smile and his thumb over his shoulder. It may be half an hour walk that way. Thank you. Callum did a polite little bow and began to jog back over to Rayla, slowing back to a brisk amble when the ringing pain through his ribs reminded him once more of his injuries. There was still an excited spring in his step, however, as he avoided elves walking and trotting past as he went. Ray! Rayla laughed. What is it? He bounced on his feet a little as he took Rayla's hand in both of his own. Sky Festival. Sky Festival? And Marinus. You mean Marinaris? Is that where we're near? Yeah, Rayla, we have to go. I think it's where the compass is taking us. He reached one hand in the pocket of the bag, feeling Zim's snout and him look at Callum's fingers a little before he pulled the compass free. And just as he expected, the arrow pointed down the path the couple had directed him in. Look, see? Rayla gave him a soft look. All right. Rein it in a bit, Callum. People are going to start staring. He chuckled, stopping the excessive bouncing, and replaced the compass back in his pack. As he slid his hand back into the bag, he heard a gentle tink as Zim's mouth pulled the compass out of Callum's hand gently down into its depths. Oh, thank you, Zim. He practically dragged Rayla along, unable to contain his excitement. His first festival in Xadia, and it came along at the perfect time. They could use a chance to unwind after everything they dealt with in the past couple of days. Callum, hey, don't forget what we're here for, Rayla warned cautiously. Try not to get too distracted, all right? We have a job to do. Callum slowed down a little to let Rayla's footfalls step in time with his own. I know, but you have to admit it'll be fun. And it'll probably be safer, too, right? No one will think to start a fight in the middle of a crowd. Rayla's face betrayed her concern. She didn't quite meet his eyes. She trailed off. She didn't have to finish the sentence. I don't know if anywhere is safe anymore. Rayla? She glanced across at him, and he gave her hand a little squeeze. We'll be careful. He caught her side gently under